Layla is somebody that Khonshu has his eye on, I think much to Marc's chagrin, especially. But it does feel like there's a lot of potential for her as a character. And I'm curious for you, would you ever be interested in kind of taking up more of a superhero mantle or becoming someone in the MCU that has a little bit more of a superpower?
When I signed on to this, I was like, man, I always wanted to be a superhero, but it's okay. Like I'm happy to represent an Egyptian woman in this world. And then the more I discovered the character, I was like, well, she really does feel like a superhero to me. Like just what what I've been able to play with her, like this woman who has flaws, who's vulnerable, but who can fight. Um, I think she's happy where she is. I mean, look, if something's gonna happen in the future, whatever. But yeah, okay, Oscar, go.
No, I just want to ask. I'm curious about what went into creating the differences in the physical performance between Steven and Marc. We get a great kind of in-camera moment where we see the shift take place. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the classic Superman scene from Christopher Reeve, where he takes the glasses off and his posture just completely changes. It's kind of emblematic of that. So I'm wondering how you developed those distinct physical aspects between them in your performance.
Yeah, I think the first thing, thank you for that. Yeah, that's an amazing moment, and the truth is really like what makes Superman interesting is Clark Kent, Superman without Clark Kent is just kind of like, all right, yeah, whatever. But it's that dichotomy between the two things, which I think is what speaks to people so much. And so that's why it was really fun finding this character of Steven, and then being able to lean into maybe some of the more traditional ideas of what the vigilante, dark, brooding guy is, because he's got this little guy that lives inside of him, this little Englishman. And so finding the way that he expresses himself, Steven, someone that is desperate for connection but doesn't have the skills to do it. I saw him as a bit on the spectrum. I loved watching Love on the Spectrum. That was like one of my favorite things to look at, because I just found it so moving and touching, because it's people that, they're all the same feelings we have in those situations, but they just haven't developed all the masks to hide it all, And so there was cues that I took from that. I imagine him as quite tall, but wanting to feel smaller, in when he walks through rooms and things. And just played with the physicality, and then just a very open face, which kind of reminded me of my clown days back at school, where you play with the red nose and the way that it opens up your face. And then doing the opposite of that with Marc, making him, although much more present, like marble in the middle of a room, but also tighter in the face and closed off. There lots of defenses up, and then it took me a while to get to the place where I felt comfortable enough that it wasn't just an external change, but that it was an internal change to be able to shift. And that's why I was able, because they were kind enough to help me out with that when we shot, like only shooting Steven at first and only shooting Marc at first separately. And then slowly, as I got more comfortable, I was like, all right, guys, I won't make you bend over backwards with a schedule. We can do it on the same day. And ultimately we came up with that moment.
Something that's fabulous about the Moon Knight costume is that depending on who's wearing it at the moment, it changes. So for both of you, I'm curious, if you had to pick your own Moon Knight costume, what would it look like and why?
Wow, I never thought about this. I would want pants. Like I like to have pants.
I think it's a solid place to start. Yeah.
And I think the cape's pretty cool.
I would go no pants.
And cape.
And the cape. Just the cape.
Just the cape.
Just the cape. Yeah.
I feel like that's the perfect place to wrap on, and that's all the time I have. But thank you both so much for taking the time to talk to me about the show. I can't wait to see how these next couple episodes pan out for these characters. So thank you.
Thank you.